Hello, my name's Holly. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about being less than full-time as an F2 doctor, my experiences of what that's been like, the kind of pros and cons of it, and hopefully this will help you if you're thinking about going less than full-time. I've also got my tea here. I've got a bit of a sore throat, so I'm sorry if I sound a bit croaky. So yes, please bear with me. So I'm mainly just going to talk about my experiences and my story. So I decided to go less than full time for F2 when I was already in F1. I did F1 full time because I really, at the time, didn't want to extend F1. I just wanted F1 to be done, and I was really looking forward to my F2 job, so I kind of wanted to get started on those. So there was definitely that kind of element to it, but I was really looking forward to going less than full time for F2. So I'm 80% at the moment, so that means I work 4 days a week, and I've also taken the out of hours reduction. So it means that if I do weekday nights, for example, I just do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then if I do weekends, then I do Friday, Saturday, finish Sunday morning, Monday, if I have it as like my less than full-time day off already, if that makes sense. If I normally don't work on a Monday, that's off, but then because I've lost that kind of to a 0 day, if that makes sense, I also get the Tuesday off, so that works pretty well. I love that so much. And the reduction in the amount of on-calls you have to do, for me, was one of the main reasons why I did it. I just kind of found myself being really tired, especially after like 4 days in a row. Depending on your rotas, you might have to do like 4 long days in a row or 4 nights in a row, and for me that was just too much. I was just so exhausted at the end, I just would not bounce back from it, and so having that reduction down to 3 days is just so nice, because it means when you finish that second night, you're more than halfway through, and for me, like, that was just life-changing. Like, that in itself is enough. So if you're someone who kind of struggles with on-calls and like stacks of on-calls in a row, less than full-time has changed that for me so much, and I kind of don't... I used to kind of really dread nights. I'd be thinking like months in advance, I'd be like, oh, they're coming up, like, and I'd have this pit in my stomach, like, growing and growing and growing. Whereas now I'm like, especially if it's a weekend night and I've only got to do 2 nights, I'm like, I can do that. I can work 2 nights. So it's definitely something that I found really helpful. Okay, so reasons for going less than full time. You don't really have to give strong reasons in the same way anymore. You can just say that it's for like, sorry, Lola's got a squeaky toy. You can just say it's more kind of like work-life balance and things. I had a few different reasons. I did struggle with my mental health during F1. I just found it took a significant dip at the beginning, and then I spent the whole rest of the year trying to like claw it back up, and I did, but it took a lot of energy and time, and I just thought, actually no, I've got back to this place where I'm much happier. I just want to protect that. I don't want it to get worse again. So going less than full time is a way for me to just like protect my mental health, keep myself happy. I also am doing my course at the moment, my level 5 diploma, so it just gives me a bit more time to like accumulate client hours and do kind of all the written assignments and things. So for me, it just gave me that time, that flexibility. So I'm very grateful for that. And actually how easy the process was. I think sometimes people can be put off because they think it's going to be loads of paperwork, it's going to be really difficult, but at least in my experience, I just emailed my clinical supervisor, my educational supervisor, to be like, oh, I want to go less than full time. He was like, yes, sounds reasonable, let me like plug in the foundation program director, who were like all kind of aware of everything that happened for me in F1. I filled in like 1 form, and then it was all sorted. There is a deadline for how far you have to do it in advance of moving on to the next rotation, so it's really important to be aware of that beforehand. But yeah, it was actually a really straightforward and simple process, so don't be put off by the fact that you think it's going to be like really arduous, because it's not. So yes, so on to kind of other factors. One of the main reasons that also puts people off is the pay cuts, and there is definitely a pay cut, and at the moment I'm in GP, so there's like no out of hours pay, and I'm 80%, so it has been like reduced pay, definitely, and you can supplement that with locums, but obviously there aren't always locums everywhere, so it can be quite region dependent and those types of things. And I think lots of people sometimes will go, oh, but you can just locum, without recognising that that's not necessarily available for everyone. So having zoomies. Girly. She doesn't want to hear about lesson full time, even though she benefits from it because I take her on cute walks on my days off. Anyway, so yeah, there is definitely the financial implication. It's something to try and like really sit down and figure out beforehand. I had a rough idea of how much I would earn, but I actually didn't sit down and figure it out. And so I would actually recommend making a spreadsheet, like really sitting down and figuring out how much money will I actually have, can I actually afford this? Because if I didn't do locums, it would be really difficult for me. Girly. How it's going so fast. Anyway, so yeah, financial implications. If you're someone who is worried about finances and you're not worried about reducing your out of hours, and that's not why you want to go less than full time, you do actually have the option to keep your out of hours as being full time. And people who do that often say that actually it means that their pay is like a lot better, and that that's a way that they can manage it. So it's kind of, there are ways around it, and it is up to you how much you want to do and how much you don't want to do. So yeah. Another thing to think about. The big question and big question mark that I kind of still have hanging over me at the moment, and unfortunately it's not something I can comment at this moment in time, maybe when I do know I'll be able to kind of update people on that, is progression. So obviously for F1 is time-based, not competency-based. So if you go less than full time, so like 60% for F1, then you will have to extend. That's like definite, 100% you will have to extend F1. But if you're not in a rush to do anything, you know you want to stay in this country, etc., fine, you know, who cares? For F2, it is a little bit less clear-cut. So in theory, it's supposed to be competency-based, but I think in practice, a lot of people who extend F2 do end up having to extend it. I've heard of people who do and people who don't. There's also the option, obviously, you don't have to do 80% for every job. I'm talking about this in my experience with the fact that I've done 80% for the whole year, but I have loads of colleagues who've just done it for 1 or 2 jobs. So for example, they might do it for A&E, where they have, you know, really heavy on-call rota with lots of out of hours, and they really just don't enjoy that, so they've gone 80% for that, but then for the rest of the year they've been full-time. And I think if you do that, you're much more likely to be able to progress. Again, it kind of depends how much that matters to you. Some people don't really mind. Some people do. I think at the beginning of this year I was really worried about having to extend and what that would mean. But I think now I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, actually I've had a really nice year. I've really enjoyed being less than full time. It's made me feel a lot better about myself, about my life, about what I'm doing. So it's been worth it. But yeah, it's still a question that's hanging over me. And then, like, will I still be able to do a job if I do get into specialty training, all those types of things. So it's something where there's still a lot of questions, and unfortunately the foundation schools are quite cagey about it. Like, they often won't give you an answer. So we'll just have to wait ARCP and see what happens. So yeah, and some people as well talk a lot about reduced kind of training opportunities. Personally, that hasn't been my experience. All of my supervisors have been very supportive of me being less than full time. I've not had any issues. When I was in psychiatry, I got to go and do tasters in different places. I got to go see ECT and do like electrode placement there, all kinds of interesting things like that. So I personally haven't found that my training has been in any way affected by it. Some people as well talk about not getting as much clinical experience. Again, this is just my personal opinion, but I don't feel like being 1 day less there a week has massively impacted on that. Maybe it's just the kinds of jobs that I've been doing, but for example in GP, I have a range of patients every day, a range of different presentations. There'll be some obs and gynae, there'll be peds, there'll be derm, there'll be kind of viral illnesses, respiratory, all kinds of stuff, and I get that every day anyway. And I get good feedback from my supervisors. No one's ever commented that they think that I'm not working at the level that I should be. So again, it's kind of different people's experiences, and I'm just talking about the specialties that I've worked in, and potentially maybe something like anaesthetics or surgery, it is different. I don't know, I can't comment on that. And I guess a lot of the specialties that I have worked in so far this year, so psychiatry and GP, there is quite a culture of being less than full-time. A lot of consultants weren't working full-time, so maybe that's different, maybe that works and plays a big part in it as well. So I'm coming at this with my experiences, and obviously this is just what I have had happen with me, so take it all with a pinch of salt and know that unfortunately maybe not everyone is as nice as my supervisors and my experiences have been. Kind of as a final note, I would say that I'm just really, really grateful and happy that I went lesson full time. There are challenges, I mean financial challenges. I'm really lucky that I have a really supportive partner and we've been able to make things work, and I have been able to pick up locums. And there is this kind of question mark over will I be able to progress with F2 and kind of like at a normal rate with my colleagues or not. But for me overall, I just feel so much happier. I just have more time for myself, more time to meet up with my family, more time to kind of do things that I enjoy, like spending time with my crazy dog. So it's been worth it for me. If you are interested in going lesson full time, you have questions, then always feel free to message me on my Instagram. I'm more than happy to get back to you, answer any questions you have. So please let me know.